Question.
I had this criticism starting out, and I think others may have a similar criticism.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at some illuminates,
Mm-hmm.
let's take Nisargadatta Maharaj. Someone might say, this man sold cigarettes, and from my experience, I know that cigarettes are a thing which wreaks havoc on the lives of people. How can someone who makes their living selling cigarettes be an illuminate?
People will throw up obstacles to themselves if they want to, no matter what. If it's not that, they'll object to, how could he shave his head, or how could he not shave his head? And what your generation has yet to learn is the mistakes that you've made, because you won't learn them for a while. I mean, as an entire, band of the society or the culture. Now, he sold bendies, I believe, but even if he had sold just Marlboros, what does that have to do with anything? I mean, people pronounce themselves judge, declare themselves judge, and maybe they're not in the position to do such a thing. And we see this often in childish people. And so if somebody does that, they kind of eliminated themselves from learning from that person, and they just learn less, I guess, But, if there was a time when everybody smoked. I mean, you know what I'm saying. It was thought to be good for the digestion. There was a time when no one could eat butter. You had to eat artificial margarine, and butter was thought to be bad. And you will learn that these kinds of errors, which are only human, you will be accused of them too. But you didn't know better. How do we know that broccoli doesn't cause some kind of horrible cancer? Probably because it's been around a while, and that's why you prefer things that are more, stood the test of time, etc. But if somebody wants to judge someone else, first of all, that's pretty. Especially from another culture. I think that bars them from learning very much from certain people. And it may bar them altogether. And once they have more understanding, they will be much, much, much less quick to judge. What do the Sufis say? Appoint a man a judge and you've killed him without a knife. This is part of the mechanism. And some of the, for example, child rearing practices of your generation, or what you consider good and what that no other generation has, for example. Time will tell. Some of them will be wrong, right? And so, I'm not going to defend. He needs no defense. But the person who decides to appoint themselves judge may want to learn more about how the world actually works. And what is it, Jesus? Judge not, lest ye be judged. So, very quickly, people of understanding refrain from that kind of thing for precisely that reason. It's just ignorant and childish, but also understandable. I'm just saying that if for a student, it's like, well, I'm not going to I'm not going to study Leibniz because he was into esoteric Christianity. Mm-hmm. Or I'm not going to study a Wilhelm Reich because although his work on character structure is, way up there, he was a bad man. Or you could just name the people, and this is just it's a problem primarily with American kids, I've noticed. Mm. And so if you have a narrow mind, you can keep it. It won't be missed. Something like that. It's like saying, well, I can't study for this man because he's black. What could a black man know? What could a black sharecropper know? I mean, that's just ignorance. And it's a particularly malignant kind of ignorance, and so that's what I have to say about that. But people exclude themselves from learning in many, many different ways. This is one of them.
I have a follow-up.
Good.
So then I think someone would respond, how far do you take this non-judgment thing? A man sells cigarettes, but he's an illuminate, fine. I can take that. But somebody, I don't know, hits a kid.
What do you think of a philosopher who refuses to read Heidegger because Heidegger was in Germany and was affiliated with the Nazis?
I think he's insincere, probably.
As a philosopher, right? There's two different dimensions. And so, it's just silly. It's silly, and that's putting it kindly. And teachers who do this to their students, I don't have very many kind things to say about that. We need to broaden our minds. We need to open our minds. We need more understanding and more empathy and more compassion. Judgment is not something this world is lacking. And what did Jesus say again? Judge not, lest ye be judged, because that is how the world works. Okay? That is how the mind works. It is very, very straightforward. If you're judging people, let's say, on their weight, well, then you'll be obsessed with your own weight. Right?
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Right.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
So we don't know which of the herbs or supplements that are currently in vogue will turn out later to cause, God knows what. Or what child rearing practices turn out to be ass backwards. We just don't know. Because first of all, we don't know what the world will be like. Okay? And so, people of understanding don't like to judge in that way. Does that help?
So it does. I have another follow-up then.
Good.
That's, do illuminates then yield that there are some things they may be doing that are ass backwards?
I'm sorry, what?
Do illuminates then yield?
Okay, this is way too abstract in general,
Okay.
Okay, now let me take the opportunity to quote the Tao Te Ching. Those who know do not generalize. Those who generalize do not know. So let's get more concrete and specific, please.
Okay. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj then.
I never met the man. He never wrote a book. He was just living his life, right? Students would come by and he'd teach him, and he was who he was, all right? Occasionally there was a few videos made of him, and then somebody took it and made a book out of it. The poor guy didn't do anything like that. He was innocent. But if you want to, use him as an example, it's going to be hard for me because I've only seen maybe 3 minutes total of him on video and a book he never wrote.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
But these are good questions because they're very, very common, and usually they don't get asked. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's good to bring them up to the surface and work with them.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to give an example of an illuminate who.
Why does it have to be an illuminate?
Well, so I think a good amount of people have this idea that a real human in the Taoist sense is, in fact, their every action is infallible.
Well, that's idiotic.
Enough said.
Okay.